on to part two of the look forward to 2015 in Formula One. We'll move on to Mercedes, who are of course the reigning Constructors' Champions this season. They won that easily. And of course Lewis Hamilton has just clinched the Drivers' Championship for them as well. They're going to keep the same lineup. Hamilton and Rosberg will both be there next season. The belief is that the car will be by far and away the best car still, although all the other teams will be doing everything possible to try and close that gap. Williams had a strong season and a strong finish to the season, and they might be thinking to themselves, yes, we can close that gap a bit. Red Bull are the only other team to win any races this season. So although Mercedes have got every reason to be confident, and although they'll be hard to beat, it may not be quite so easy for them next season. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. McLaren are developing a new engine with their old friends Honda. They for this season McLaren had Mercedes engines, so they had the same engine as the Works Mercedes team. But this season, next season I should say, they're swapping that for Honda engines. Honda are coming back into Formula One after an absence of several years. And the last time that McLaren and Honda partnered together, it produced some of the most dominating cars the sport's ever seen. So McLaren will be hoping to sort of use that as a platform to really challenge Mercedes. But Mercedes, they've been improving steadily for years. They have a lot of experience, and now, of course, they now know exactly what it takes to win. And they do have two very, very talented drivers. Hamilton, some people would argue, is the best driver on the grid. He is now the world champion for the second time. Rosberg has demonstrated his fight this season and will only get stronger, you feel. And the car, next season's car is bound to be good, no matter what happens. So they're going to be very hard to beat. Looking at some of the smaller teams, terrible year for Sauber. Terrible year for Sauber. They have scored no points, and they will be utterly disappointed with that. Back in 2012, they had a car that was actually pretty quick in some respects, actually quite competitive, and at times even challenging for podiums. Flash forward a couple of years, and they are collecting no points. So that's how the worm turns in Formula One. Unfortunately, you just can't bank on anything, and Sauber will be desperately hoping they can move into next season in a better sort of way. Also struggling this year were Lotus. In 2012 and 2013, they managed to win races, and in the form of Kimi Räikkönen, had a very consistent driver who would usually get his car into the points. They lost Kimi Räikkönen at the end of last season, and they also lost some of their key engineering personnel and management personnel to other teams owing to some financial problems. And this year it's really kind of shown. The car has been pretty difficult to drive all season. It's not as quick as its competitors. They've really struggled. They've really struggled, and they've collected a few points, but they will want to do a lot better next season. But it's hard to see whether they'll actually do that or not. Force India are a team I quite like. They are a small team, well, relatively small team, but quite plucky and quite efficient at using what they've got. In Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg, they have two pretty talented drivers, and they've generally given some very sort of solid, hard performances this season. They narrowly missed out on pipping McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. And they're just a team which just seems to have a good handle on things. They're not expected to go forward and win races, but they are expected to be competing for points in every race, and they usually do. So hopefully we'll see more of the same from them next season.